Hello, everybody, and welcome to podcast number 36 of The Real Estate Show. I'm Cherise Selly, and with me is Judy Steenland. We are part of Selly Group Real Estate right here in Colorado Springs. And Judy, we are at the very beginning of March when this podcast is being recorded and released. I mean, how is it going, Judy, in this marketplace for 2022? What do you think?
Well, it's a question that not only you are asking, but buyers are asking, sellers are asking. Everybody wants to know what's going on in the market. And so, especially with everything that's going on in the rest of the world. And then,
yes.
Yeah.
These are very hard times. You know, I would say our heart is with the people in Ukraine, people fighting for democracy and sovereignty. That was a statement, part of what the National Association of Realtors was saying. It hits very too close to home for us.
Yeah.
And so our hearts are heavy, even doing this podcast, just knowing that there's really some tough stuff going on out there. And through all of that, people are wanting to continue to look for that place of safety, that place of refuge, that place where, troubles are all around us. But I think home continues to form a deeper meaning in people's lives through these turbulent times.
Yeah.
And on top of that, dealing with hyperinflation and dealing with interest rates. I so appreciate my friend Ben Day, who is a manager over at Sotheby's here. And in one of his market reports, he reminded me of the formula of 1 and 10. So for every 1% that the interest rate changes, it affects your purchasing power by 10%. And so that's a much easier formula than other things I've heard described. And so that 1-10 rule applies, and interest rates are 1% higher now than they were last year.
Yeah.
So, and they're going to continue to climb, but this is not a fear talk, guys. This is a sobering kind of thing of just be aware, but don't be in such a frenzy that you are killing yourself in the process. This is hard enough. It takes adequate preparation, and it takes, I would say too, Judy, if people are going out right now, and there is so much happening in this market.
Yeah.
Locally and nationally. When somebody is looking at what's happening, are you advising people that things are about to change and the market's going to go down tomorrow? And
oh goodness, no. I think we advise them that yes, there are going to be changes. We are seeing interest rates increase. We've been made aware of that. The Fed announced, they announced, I think, back in early February that a 0.5% increase. Mm-hmm. And what I read just yesterday was that they've gone back, and maybe that looks more like a quarter right now based on what's happening in the Ukraine, but they're still continuing to plan to move forward with the interest rate increases.
That's right.
And while I don't think it will curb buyers from buying homes, it just changes what they're buying.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that is genius. It changes what they're buying.
Yeah.
And so that's why buyers really need to be aligned with agents who can help them and guide them through the fact that it may not look the same way that it will right now if you're buying, 3 months from now. So talking about upfront the landscape of how that change can affect that buyer.
Right. Well, being, we've talked about this, through the course of this podcast, and just being fully prepared, knowing what your financial capacity is, and being comfortable at your high end and mid zone, knowing exactly where those numbers are.
Yes. So
that when you can go in and confidently make an offer, above list price, which we're seeing still multiple offers on properties, not just in our average price points or first time buyer price points. We're talking in the luxury price points.
Yes.
Which you just had an amazing story that we'll have to tell. But it's not just, so as we're talking about inflation, we're also talking about people are realizing Their money is not gaining value sitting parked in a bank account.
That's right.
And so more and more people are even asking the questions, how can I park this in some real estate for the next 3 to 5 years?
I think so.
Yeah, or real estate trusts, or what does that look like? And so I think that not only are we seeing buyers looking for their personal homes, but we're also going to be seeing more investors.
I continue to get more people who have circled, they've even left the state, but they're thinking about coming back to become an investor or looking for a property that they can maybe do a corporate rental, or maybe not just a short-term rental, but some hybrid of rental that is allowed in the city or whatever the governmental agencies will work with, finding the most optimized way to be an investor. We are seeing that. But it's also, for me, my counsel is not for everybody to just go on a buying frenzy if they're really not into it.
Yeah.
Because, hello, this is the time to sell. Sellers.
Yeah.
This is the time. If you're on the fence still, I don't think I would just keep taking for granted everything that's happening. I had such a surge of early activity this year. And the day that horrible war broke out was the day that my business personally went insane over a couple of listings that we put up. But you're right, getting back to that luxury home, I'm not going to say everything about the story yet because it's still being written.
Right.
And you don't want to go through every detail as a story is being written. But I can say this, that, several years ago, if there was a $2 million listing, that inventory might be there for over 13 months. Or, we're not talking a weekend. We're not talking multiple offers and people in the buyer's frenzy mentality that you just can't even imagine.
Yeah.
So when the right listing comes up and there is this pent up demand, it does not just apply for the average priced home, which is in that $500,000 range here in Colorado Springs. It applies in the luxury market too. And that is where I'm astounded, because I'm seeing that there is more cash than I've ever seen just floating, like you said. I think it's that part of that hyperinflation. People are wanting to park their cash into something that they perceive as a safer investment than just leaving it in the bank.
Yeah.
And not only that, but with the low supply, which we're not getting rid of anytime soon, the luxury market is still alive and well right here in Colorado Springs right now.
Yeah.
And we're talking the acceleration of offers, the many offers we got on one home during a weekend that was at the $2 million mark, that raised that price so considerably, historically considerably for me.
Yeah.
It just showed me, wow, we are in for it this year.
Yeah.
It is going to be, I thought last year was crazy.
Yeah, which is so important for all us as agents to stay on top of those numbers, because it's a challenge pricing homes right now, because you don't want to overprice. However, things are selling at the top of their ranges. And so when you're looking at comps and trying to decide, it's a challenge.
And I think it's impossible to underprice right now, because the market will absolutely organically bring a home to the value that the buyers are perceiving the value is right now.
Right. And isn't it so true? List prices right now are suggested starting prices.
Yes.
They're not the standard of what that home is going to sell for.
I agree. It's almost like, I wish it would just say opening bid.
Right. Let's start here. And the buyers are setting the price. So you're right. You can't underprice a house because the buyers are driving them up.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's so good, Judy. I think so. And speaking of buyers, I just want to talk about this little segment quickly, and then we're going to be out of time. But interestingly enough, we're in a season with buyers where, according to an article in Realtor Magazine, they're buying older homes.
Yes, historically older homes.
Yes. And it's because there isn't the new construction inventory.
Yeah.
So buyers between the ages of 22 and 30 they're buying a lot of older homes. And I mean, that even includes like baby boomers too. I mean, it's not just first-time home buyers, but I think it's really, really interesting to see that dynamic happen. And I think it's going to continue to be a trend where a buyer is going to buy something that's older, and they're going to need to also have the wherewithal. And sometimes that's where we really come in to help them too, to know how to renovate and how to do that more cost effectively.
Yeah.
They're taking on more than they ever have. Buyers are when they're buying an older home.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it's bad. Just be prepared. That's part of what we're here for, right?
That's right.
So thank you so much, Judy. We could talk for so long. I always feel like we're just getting started.
I know. It feels like we literally just sat down.
I really hope that anybody listening to this podcast, you can be interactive. You can ask questions. We want to know what is in your thought process. What are you concerned about? We care about helping to guide you through our experiences. And we want to hear your feedback. And we thank you so much for listening to this podcast and knowing that, there's a full life out there in real estate that's way beyond just the transaction. It's the quality of life we want you to have and to share with others. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.